Previously, we've learned about atoms and how atoms can join together to make molecules. Now we're going to look at the fact that actually there are lots of different types of atoms. And we can see in our picture here, we've got 5 different atoms here. So there are many types of atom. And so far, we've discovered 118 different atoms. And we're pretty sure this is as many as there are in the universe. We think 118 is the limit. So each one of these different atoms, they have a different size, and they have different masses. Some are heavier than others. And we can see up here in this simple picture, we've got hydrogen atoms. These are the smallest atom. And then we've got oxygen and chlorine. These atoms are a bit bigger as well. So all these different types of atoms, we call these elements. And they're kind of like a species of a living thing, like different species of animals. So every element has particular properties that are unique just to that element. Just like for animals, tigers always have particular features compared to humans. It's the same for all oxygen atoms have the same features compared to another element. So we can say elements are a type of atom with the same properties or features. So once scientists started discovering lots of different elements, they decided, let's give them symbols to make them a bit easier to write, because some of them have really long names, and it's easier to just give them a symbol. So here are some common different elements. We've got hydrogen, which is a gas, and we have to keep it in cylinders if we want to store it, otherwise it will just fly away into the atmosphere. And hydrogen has, if we just put our heading here, hydrogen has an atomic symbol of H. Usually the chemical symbol or the atomic symbol is just the letter that the word starts with. So if we look at carbon, carbon is what makes up the lead in your pencil. It's crumbly and it's a grey colour. Carbon has the chemical symbol of C. Some other elements though, they have 2 letters as their atomic symbol. So chlorine's is Cl. And that's because carbon already had the symbol for C, so chlorine was discovered later, so scientists thought, let's use 2 letters instead. And that gets around that problem. Now we need to think about how do different elements actually exist in nature? Because we've looked at atoms and we've looked at molecules. And we've discovered that some elements exist in different forms. Elements exist in different forms in nature. So, the first type of element, this is just where the atom is on its own. So we can call these single atom elements. And the fancy name for that, or the proper scientific name, is monatomic. One atom. And an example of these elements is helium, which has the symbol He. So helium, when it exists in nature, it's just a single atom, and they fly around on their own as a gas when we're at room temperature. But other elements, they actually prefer to be joined together in a molecule when they exist normally. And these we can call molecule elements. Or molecular elements. So the couple of examples we have here are oxygen, which has the symbol O, and sulfur, which has the symbol S. So we can see here, oxygen, it prefers to have two atoms joined together to make a molecule. We have molecules of oxygen, and this is how oxygen exists as it's in the air normally. And this is one of the most important molecules for us. As humans, we need to breathe it in, obviously, to survive. Down here we have sulfur, and we can see sulfur, it prefers to have 6 of its atoms all joined together to make one molecule. And we can see the 6 atoms joined here with their bonds, their chemical bonds. So then, as sulfur exists normally, and we can see here, it's a yellow powder, a little bit like chalk. It exists of these molecules, and they're the individual particles. Lastly, some other elements, they prefer to be joined in something called a lattice. And this is really common for metals. So we can see here, a lattice, it's just a repeating grid of lots and lots of atoms all joined together into one big block. So each chunk of metal in this picture here, that's just one big lattice of atoms all joined together continuously, repeating on and on and on. So this example could be a metal like sodium, and its symbol is Na. So elements are particular types of atoms, and they can exist in 3 main forms when we find them in nature.